Welcome to Matter of Fact, a podcast from the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center, where we report what matters. I'm your host, Sami Jordan, filling in this week for Halawi Tabebe. With support from the Scripps Howard Foundation, our center works to counter misinformation and strengthen truth-based journalism across communities in Southeast Mississippi. Today's episode highlights our RHCJC news article, Mississippi AI Identity Bill Advances After Clearing Senate Committees. We are diving into what it means to have an online presence in the age of artificial intelligence, as artificial intelligence makes it easier to replicate people without their consent. We'll talk about how it affects businesses, brands, and identities, as well as the new bill that aims to treat your identity as a property right. Then, we'll chat with reporter J.C. Roberts about the inner workings of this story and the people most affected by the misuse of AI. Imagine scrolling through social media and seeing a video of yourself saying something foul you've never said, or promoting a product you've never used. In the past, artificial intelligence, or AI, may have seemed like a futuristic fear. However, in 2026, it has turned into an ethical dilemma lawmakers at the Capitol are racing to address. Mississippi is currently considering Senate Bill 2046, which passed the Universities and Colleges Committee following previous failed attempts in years prior. The bill isn't just a dry piece of policy. It's a measure that would give Mississippians legal protections over their name, likeness, and voice, as AI makes digital replication easier than ever. Senator Bradford Blackman, a co-sponsor of the bill, started work on the bill in 2024 after a conversation with talent manager Jeff D'Elia.
My first session in 2024, Jeff D'Elia, Bobby Rush's manager, reached out to me. He told me that Tennessee was looking at similar legislation. And with Bobby being a Mississippian, he wanted to see if I'd be interested in trying to help usher in this same legislation for Mississippi. I told him I would be.
Blackman says the bill caused confusion when it was first introduced in the 2024 legislative session.
That first year it came out of committee, there's a little bit of confusion because it says name, likeness, and voice, but everybody thought that it had something to do with college sports, name, image, and likeness. So it went to universities and colleges, and some of the holdup was with the attorneys for Mississippi State, Ole Miss, trying to see how it factored them in. So it kind of got bogged down that year one. It came out of committee, but once it got to the floor, it kind of got stuck. So last year, we were able to clear up everything, point out that it had nothing to do with college athletes. This is about all Mississippians.
Blackman emphasizes the rapid growing nature of AI and urges that it must be regulated.
AI keeps evolving from day to day to day. And as it gets better, I want people to be protected, because I don't want, as we saw last year, I won't say any names, but students at Ole Miss who had to leave school because their digitally altered images and videos of themselves going around.
He further explains that the effects of AI-generated content often take a toll on one's perception of reality.
When people see something, it's hard to get them to unsee it. It's like, no, that's fake, it's not real. But once it gets embedded in someone's mind, it doesn't matter how many times you tell somebody that's not real. And you can't make it to everyone that's seen it to tell them it's not real. So you got to try to stop it before someone even does it.
Billy Newman, a legal studies professor at USM, notes that there have been existing laws previously that protect rights over likeness, image, and voice. However, he says previously existing laws were built for traditional media platforms like radio and TV and are inadequate to regulate AI.
We have existing privacy torts. You can sue for false light, intrusion upon seclusion is one law we have, or publicizing private facts. None of those existing privacy laws, which work with TV and radio, which work with other traditional legacy media, they don't seem to work when AI stuff is being generated and posted on the internet, on social media, etc. So that is what's frustrating. It's a rare instance where existing law cannot be easily adapted to new and emerging technologies. We usually find a way to adapt The ancient law of defamation was easily adapted to radio and TV. AI, we don't have a lot of law that we can fall back on, so we're having to kind of start with the egg, and by statute, by government rules and regulations, and by case law, we're having to come up with a whole new body of law and do it quickly to give remedies to people who have been victimized and bullied by AI-generated versions of themselves that they didn't authorize.
Newman adds that social media has blurred the lines between celebrity and citizen, noting that we are indeed social figures within our respective communities.
Well, perhaps not everybody is going to have this as a vital concern, but more people than you would think. People who have because we are such a niche society now that our consumption of media is so fragmented and curated, thanks to the internet and everything connected with the internet, that everybody to some degree is a celebrity within a small circle.
Sarah Evans, owner of Snatched by Sarah LLC, says she relies on social media to run her business.
I have brides come in all the time for their bridal trials and tell me, I always try to make it a point to be like, how'd you find me? Did you hear about me from a friend? And a lot of them recently have said like, no, I found your Instagram and I've just loved your work. I've looked at all of your pictures. Like, I just love everything you post. So that's what's really made a difference.
For her, online identity theft is not just a threat to her business and her income. It affects her customers as well.
Not only is it an infringement on like my rights as like a makeup artist, and like that's my like work that I've put so much hard work and thought into, but it's like my clients' faces too, and they trust me to protect them in a way. So I would feel like I have a responsibility to them to make sure that, they've given me permission to post it, but surely they're not thinking that any other person or entity online is going to post it. So that would be very upsetting.
Evans further emphasizes the need for legal protection when it comes to identity and disputes over content ownership, especially in the case of small business owners.
This is a part of our business, and it's not just a part of the World Wide Web. This is something that we count on to generate our income and take care of our families. So it is a very important avenue that we use to share our work. So it should just be included like any other business right that we have as business owners. And I mean, we pay the government to have these businesses, so they should be willing to protect us and our, all of our clients that we do, post online.
Having secured Senate committee approvals, Senate Bill 2046 moves forward to the Mississippi Senate for a floor vote. As the bill moves along, it coincides with shifting federal landscapes towards AI. This past December, a presidential executive order set the wheels in motion for a national AI policy framework, one tasked with identifying state laws that might eventually interfere with federal standards. It doesn't cancel Mississippi's efforts today, but it is a signal. The fight to protect digital identity may eventually move from the state capitol to the national stage. The story you just heard was reported and produced in part by RHCJC News student journalist J.C. Roberts. He was involved throughout the process of conducting interviews to understand the nuisances of this issue up close. He joins us now to talk about how the story came together and what he learned in the process. JC, what a complex, interesting story. Let's start with the legislative side. This bill failed in 2024 and 2025. What is the bill and why is it finally gaining traction this year?
Senate Bill 2046 is being put into place to protect name, likeness, and voice of online presences. The bill actually passed the University and Colleges Committee Monday, before the deadline. This allowed it to move forward, unlike previous proposals.
Sarah Evans, the owner of Snatched by Sarah LLC, a Mississippi-based hair and makeup business, spoke about how she relies heavily on social media to promote her business. JC, what did you learn from her perspective on identity as a profitable asset?
With Sarah, she explained to us that for her, this is kind of like an accountability thing. As you know, throughout the story, she kind of explained that she doesn't even have a website. Her social media is her website. That's how people reach out to her. So she felt that that was very important to her, as well as protecting her clients. When a client comes in, she posts them on social media. She uses their faces to kind of showcase her work. And she felt a sense of, accountability to take up for them and make sure that not only is her presence being taken advantage of, but also their presence being her client and being in her space.
Now, JC, Senator Blackman is a criminal defense attorney, yet this bill relies on civil enforcement. What did he explain about the importance of civil laws opposed to criminal penalties?
When it came to Senator Blackman, we did address the issue as to how this bill was going to be enforced whenever passed, and we kind of asked the question about third parties, like how would third parties be affected? Are you going to hold them accountable as well? What he told us is that with the third parties, they won't be held accountable because they're not the primary suspect. He also said that maybe in future instances that it could be enforced better, but as of right now, he just wanted to start it off civilly, start off slow, and then kind of climb up the ladder, but kind of set the teeth into the consequences of violating someone's identity.
Thank you, JC. Professor Newman mentioned that everyone is now a quote-unquote celebrity within a small circle. Can you touch a little bit more about what you learned through that conversation?
What I gained from that conversation is that it could be anybody at any time. We do live in a time where sensationalism is important. Everybody wants to go viral. Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody to do whatever they can. Everybody wants to do whatever they can do to be popular in the media. And if that comes down to taking your identity in order to get what I want, that's what they're willing to do. Kind of what he said, there's people that post stuff all the time. They're random people. They don't even have social media presence, but that doesn't mean that they're exempt from their identity being stolen or their work being stolen.
Lastly, JC, what did you learn about what the future looks like for AI laws at the state and federal levels?
The years progress and go on. We understand that AI is becoming more and more advanced. So this is just kind of them setting discipline upon consequences for violating people's rights. It's as serious as any other right at this point, with how advanced technology is nowadays. When it comes to Mississippi, I feel that for them this just kind of showcases how important it is, and hopefully this is a wake-up call to other states to step up and do something about this. Protect your citizens, even if it's online citizens.
JC, thank you for your reporting and for giving us a closer look at the effects that artificial intelligence has within our communities. Now it's time for What is True, our fact-checking segment where we break down common claims, talk about how to verify them, and give you tools to spot what's real. Joining us is Nicole Cyprian, the director of the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center. Nicole is in for Walker Scott, our What is True Media Literacy Coordinator. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, Sammy. Thank you for having me.
So, Nicole, Senator Blackman says it's hard to unsee things once they're embedded in the mind. From a media literacy perspective, why is it so hard to debunk a visual or audio deepfake?
Yeah, so Senator Blackman is right. Once we see something, it's incredibly hard to unsee it. And that's because our brains are wired to trust visual and audio information. So when something looks real or sounds authentic, we tend to accept it before we even stop to question it. And deepfakes take advantage of that instinct by mimicking a person's face, their voice, their behavior so convincingly that our brains treat the moment as a real memory. Even when a video or a clip is later proven false, that first impression often sticks with you. You can correct the record, but you can't erase the emotional reaction people had when they first encountered it. And that's why media literacy is so important right now. It's about training ourselves to pause, to verify, and to remember that in the age of AI, especially in the age of AI, seeing and hearing is no longer automatic proof of the truth.
The bill also discusses the digital replication of people. What are some red flags that the average person can look for to spot a fake video or voice clip?
Sure. So when we talk about digital replication, like a real fancy kind of word, right? We're really talking about technology that can copy someone's identity so closely that it feels authentic at first glance. But there are some red flags people can watch for. So in videos, looking closely at things like unnatural facial movements, lips that don't quite sync with the audio, odd lighting, or hands that appear distorted or move awkwardly. So, you see somebody with 6 fingers instead of 5 fingers, right? Sometimes the emotion feels off too. The person may look real, but their expression or their reaction doesn't exactly match what they're supposedly saying. With audio, pay attention to the tone and the rhythm. AI voices can sound smooth, but they often lack the natural pauses, the emphasis on certain words, or the personality that we expect from someone's real speech. And beyond the technical clues, one of the biggest signals is going to be context. So if a clip feels shocking or, out of character or designed to provoke a particularly strong emotion or reaction, that's your cue to slow down and verify it before you share it. Media literacy today is less about becoming a tech expert and more so about building the habit of asking, where did this come from and has it been confirmed?
We see a lot of parody AI online. How does a law like Senate Bill 2046 impact the way we teach the difference between satire and misinformation?
Sure. So it really pushes us to be more precise. So traditionally, satire is meant to be recognizable. It exaggerates reality to a point, or to make a point, excuse me. And most audiences understand that it's a joke or it's commentary. The challenge with AI is that parody can now look incredibly real, which blurs the line for viewers who may not realize they're watching something that's been fabricated. And what this means for media literacy is that intent and transparency matter more than ever. If something is created for humor or for commentary, it has to be clearly labeled so that people aren't misled. So laws like this, or bills like this, I should say, reinforce the idea that a person's name, their likeness, their voice deserve protection. And they remind us that creativity should not come at the expense of someone else's identity or reputation. So when we're teaching this, when we're talking about this, we really should emphasize a simple question. Is the content clearly signaling that it's satire, or is it realistic enough that it could deceive someone? And that distinction is becoming one of the most important skills that audiences can develop.
Lastly, for listeners wanting to learn if their identity has been misused online, what resources are available for verifying and reporting that content?
Yeah, I would say that the first step is really going to be the verification. You can do reverse image searches through tools like Google Images or TinEye, just to see where a photo is appearing. You can also set up Google Alerts for your name or your business, so you get a notification if new content surfaces. And I personally have done that, and it does work. On social platforms, most sites have built-in reporting tools specifically for impersonation or for manipulated media. And those reports can help get some harmful content reviewed and removed if it's checked out and found to be malicious in nature. It's also important to document everything. So take screenshots, save your links, note the dates that you found the content. If the misuse is causing reputational or financial harm, you may want to consult an attorney, especially if, as laws are continuing to evolve in the age of AI to better protect a person's name, their likeness, their voice, because the digital space is such an unknown right now. AI is such an unknown. So, finding a attorney who has knowledge in that area will be really, really helpful. Ultimately, awareness is going to be the strongest defense. So the more proactive you are about monitoring your digital presence, the faster you can respond if you feel like something isn't right.
All right. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
You can learn more about the program or submit a question of your own at rhcjcnews.com/WITREQ or by calling 601-266-TRUE. That's 601-266-8783. You can read the full story and explore related reporting at rhcjcnews.com. Be sure to follow us on social media at rhcjcnews to keep up with more stories just like this one. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for spending time with us as we take you behind the scenes of the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center. I'm Sami Jordan, and this is Matter of Fact.